Downtown, I got that heat, let's go. Downtown, I got that heat, let's go.
Yo,
Howdy.
what up, Dennis?
Not too much. I'm just happy to be on another Friday night stream with the boys.
Appreciate you being here, Dennis. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Oh, always a pleasure. What up, B? If B's here. May have some connectivity issues. I think that was the trouble before. But anyways, we got love for B. Welcome to the show, B.
Well, while we wait for B to get back, do you just want to kick it off with a little bit of the famous Dennis story time real fast?
Story time with Dennis.
All right, I got the blessing. So, as many of you know in the community, I finally got a Verizon retail line, thanks to someone in the community hooking me up with an insider discount. It made it advantageous for me to do so. But I did have some major issues getting activated, and I briefly covered those, I believe, on the last stream from having to talk to their whoever handles the credit check. Had to talk to them, had to talk to their tech support because I had issues getting my eSIM generated, issues with my ports, had to talk to porting, and a whole bunch of other departments. But the issue that has lasted and persisted for like the last 8 days was once I did finally get cooking, all of my data was being counted against my hotspot allotment despite being on-device use. Yeah.
That's a big oof.
Yeah. But thankfully, I eventually, after talking to someone that didn't know what they were doing, I finally talked to this nice supervisor that I got escalated to named Edgar. And he is an absolute Chad at Verizon support. He is an outsourced employee, so to B's point, being outsourced doesn't mean that they're bad. But he actually took the time to listen to me. He didn't think I was just lying. We did the whole thing where Verizon can like remote in and like look at your screen, which I think is super cool. He saw my cellular usage on my device, verified that like no hotspot had been used at all for this line, and made a what's called a an NRB ticket to have some department look at the network elements for like the provisioning on my line. And they finally got done working on that ticket. It took them 48 hours, but they got done working on that ticket, and they were able to confirm that everything is Gucci. All the usage is actually showing as on device where it matters. And when I worked with Edgar, he actually did a few other things to help resync my line, which helped solve some of my other data issues. So TLDR, my biggest concern about my data just being hard throttled, I don't have to worry about it. I can just use my phone as I please. At this point, it's just a visual error within the website, the app portal, and across some of their internal systems where it's still showing it. But there was another ticket created today. It's like an INC ticket where they're going to look into that. So the good news is we finally made some progress. The line is active. Everything is as it should be. I'm rocking it just as a single line on an iPhone 14, so it's the best possible chance to give the Unlimited Plus plan its dues on the Verizon network. And yeah, calling's been good, texting's been good. Data performance has been a little rough here in Pittsburgh. Sneed's seen some of the pictures, but there might be some maintenance going on that might have been unrelated to the hotspot problems. I don't know yet because
the two things kind of going on. It's hard to pinpoint, right?
So yeah, that's the little bit of short story time. Overall, though, I was keeping tally. Do you want to take a guess how many calls it took for me to finally get Mr. Right?
5.
Oh, Jesus, I wish.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll just give you a hint. It's double digits at the minimum.
14.
Took me 13 calls.
Sheesh.
Unlucky 13. 13 calls and 1 store visit.
The store visit got you nowhere. Most of the calls got you nowhere. You finally got the one, man. Yeah,
he's been going above and beyond. He's actually been following up and calling me. Honestly, it's to the point where we're like good friends. Where the next time he calls me, I think I'll just have to freaking send him out a beer, ask him for a shipping address because the man's been going above and beyond. And
I had like 10, maybe 9 or 10 Verizon reps tell me they would call me back. Never did.
Yeah, this guy's actually been doing it, which is what surprised. Yeah, that's what surprised me. This guy's actually been doing it. He's a supervisor. He's actually been doing the callbacks. Whenever he's busy with a meeting, he'll actually send me a text message letting him know, like, hey, I'm hung up in a meeting, but I'll give you a call here shortly, because apparently they have the ability to do that. So he's been super on the ball, and if Verizon had more people like that gentleman named Edgar, Verizon's customer service would be in a much better place. And I want to say I'm not mad at like any individual rep that I spoke with, even the one that worked under him who had no idea what I was talking about because he was like, no, our systems clearly show it was hotspot. Like, I'm not even mad at him because at least he escalated me to the supervisor, which was Edgar, instead of like hanging up on me.
Right.
And, me and Edgar have been having such a long conversation that the guy even learned a thing or two. So now if he ever ends up running into something like that, now he knows what he should maybe do in the future, which is really cool. So
you handled it well too, Dennis. Between you and I think also Edgar, made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, most customers don't want to get upset at people. Most customers don't want to be on the phone with people. They just want a solution to their problems. And even if you can't provide the solution to the problem right then and there, they at least want you to acknowledge and understand, right? Nothing's more frustrating than when you're someone that's being pretentious is the wrong word here, but like when you think you're a know-it-all, right? Like when you think you know better. And I'm not saying you might not know better to the customer, but if you show that attitude and dismiss them and call them as a liar, because I did have that happen where they thought I was just some idiot lying, because I don't know what that would gain me, but they thought I was lying. Nothing was more frustrating. And again, I didn't swear at any of the reps. I never raised my voice at any of the reps. If I got a rep like that, to be honest with you, Steen, all I did was just hang up and try calling back again.
Oh wow.
Well, what's the point of yelling at them, right? If I
no,
swear,
you got a point. That's true.
Like, why waste the energy? They'll just if I piss them off, they might mess up my account worse, right? There's more for me to lose by yelling at the rep who has full control of my account than for me just to hang up and call back, right? And plus me having to keep calling back is going to hurt all those other reps, right? I guarantee you Verizon has to have a metric for first call resolution. So if I'm calling back, right, and I'm verifying myself, that's already their just punishment for them not doing, taking the initiative to take responsibility of the issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thanks
I'm
for sharing that, Dennis. Somebody might go through the same thing and kind of understand how they got to play it. It takes like clear communications from the customer side and getting the right either, customer care rep who kind of knows the situation, and then also in this case it was a supervisor kind of next level up that could actually help you.
Yeah, and I want to be clear here, like just so we're also really clear, I'm not trying to give a pass on Verizon for allowing this to happen. Like it should have never took to this point.
Oh no pass, bro. We continue to see these troubles. It's still awful that it took 13 calls.
But on the same token, I also want to say, like, people like Edgar, he probably won't watch this video ever, but if there's a Verizon employee out there that's like Edgar, who does go that above and beyond, know that customers really do appreciate that more than what words can describe, and real actions get taken when those positive experiences do occur. Like I'm not going to forget that experience with Verizon the same way I'll never forget the really bad experience I had with Verizon. When I have those really good moments, right? That's an opportunity to really live a good impression on me to become potentially a net promoter in the future, right? Like if every call was like with Edgar, if I had with Verizon, right, I'd be singing Verizon praises in the same way I sing my AT&T praises, because AT&T always gives me the white glove treatment, But anyway, that's my little short story. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
All right, we got our first super chats of the eve. We got Ashton. He said, "You are now a banana phone." Cool. Thanks for the super chat. And then this one from X Gamer Johnny, just a $2 chat, no message. Thank you both for the super chats to open up this evening. What up, B?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, buddy. Glad to have you. Finally got some audio.
I was just giving a story time. Sorry about that, B.
No, it's all right, man. That's cool. It's cool, man. Good to be here. Good to see you guys. Hear from you guys.
Awesome. So, since we started off with something that was calmly explained, do we want to get right into the spicy BS news of the industry with what T-Mobile's doing?
Yeah, I want to start adding a couple elements to our podcasts and our live streams. What I want to do is I want to bring like a little bit of prepaid into the fold, a little bit of value, for people that are looking to save money. When I come across things that don't make it onto a video, I want to bring it onto the podcast. So let's go ahead and do that right now. First, with this Cricket Wireless data only plan promotion, I want to share with you guys, because some of you might be out there looking for a good deal and, kind of letting you know what's going on in the industry. I think this is good for people. All right. So Cricket Wireless, which you guys know is AT&T network access. It's their prepaid business. And I think based on the network performance, along with, having to compete with the likes of Metro and Boost and the prepaid companies, I feel like it's a really good value. And then when they do promotions, sometimes we miss them. But I caught this one, and it's from bestmvno.com. They cover a lot of this stuff. 50 gigs of bonus data on their data only plans. So the previous promotion, or I should say the previous plan structure, was 50 gigs. It used to be 100 gigs on promo. They got rid of it. So then they reverted back to the standard price and data allotment. Now they brought back the 100 gig promo. They're calling it bonus data. They're just bringing back the old promotion, and they're doing it at the same price. I think before there was a time where they sold it for 50, and there was a time where they sold it for 60. Now I think the pricing has kind of settled somewhere at like $55. And this is all high-speed data. So if you really are a heavy data user when it comes to connected devices, right, because it's data only, this is a really good deal. And then they're running an additional 50 gig promo. If you wanted 150 gigs, they're doing it for 90. All right. So if you want that additional access, what I would do is I would get a second SIM, for the 55 and then just double that data and have 100 and 100. But that's just me being silly. And I guess if you had an extra device, you could pull it off. But this promotion, I think, is slated to end July 31st. So if anybody was considering this, you've got about, I don't know, what do we got left in June? We got 4 weeks or so left in June, and then you've got the rest of July to figure out how you're going to take advantage of this. And from what I understand, AT&T, Cricket, once you got these types of deals, they let you keep it. They grandfather you. It's pretty good. So this is good. I think it's a good value. Dennis, I don't know if you follow these types of deals. I don't know if you know of any other companies offering similar, but to me, I think this is a decent value.
I mean, I don't follow them as much as I used to since, not doing the best phone plans, but I am aware of a few other deals that are out there, specifically with T-Mobile being the closest competitor. They have a plan that's $55 for 100 gigs or 50 with autopay. I think that's what probably prompted Cricket to do this promo deal. Overall, though, I think it's fantastic value for 100 gigs. Very, 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 very fair price, because the only other way you can really get down to that price, with the exception of the T-Mobile deal that I mentioned, is if you were doing something like having Verizon's Unlimited Plus plan and doing like a dedicated hotspot line like that to get like their 50% off, because Verizon doesn't have any price competitive hotspots on their network at this price point by itself for data only. So I think it's a great deal.
Yeah. B, did you want to comment on this?
I echo everything that Dennis said. I don't have anything else to add.
All right, great. Let's go ahead and pivot to this next thing then.
Cool. And I was just going to say, one thing that I think will be interesting is when Dish starts making plans specifically from data only. I'll be curious to see if they'll come out with anything price competitive. But
yeah, I think they will. That seems like an option where they could come in and put a wrinkle into the game, right? It's kind of an opportunity because the space doesn't really have anything aggressive, right?
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. This article is from RCR Wireless. I actually wanted to cover this last week, but we couldn't get around to it. Just ran out of time. 5G fixed wireless access, the killer application today, according to Verizon CEO. All right, first of all, I just want to say this. A lot of people say a lot of things about Hans, the CEO of Verizon. From a network standpoint, I like what this guy does. I love the emphasis and the focus on the network. I think when it comes to networking, his vision and how he perceives 5G networking with respect to a deep investment into C-band and then also the deepest investment into millimeter wave and C-RAN and wireline, he clearly understands what a network is, should be, how to build it, and what it takes. I really do respect this guy when it comes to that. So before anybody, starts shitting on this guy because of plans or consumer retail or all that, that's a totally different conversation. I actually think he's pretty bright and pretty smart and wise when it comes to networking. Big shout out to Ashton. He's dropping another super chat. Works at Walmart for a third party that handles wireless sales. I feel like AT&T and Verizon are making my job harder. My store doesn't have T-Mobile. Well, the carriers aren't there to make your job easier. They're there to sell. So that may be a conflict of interest for what you're trying to accomplish as the rep. Hopefully it gets better. We always hope that systems improve and your job can be done a lot more efficiently and easier on you, man. Thank you, by the way, for the super chat. Okay, so 5G fixed wireless access, the killer application today. And this in regards to C-band, fiber build, and fixed wireless access growth, enterprise 5G, private networking. I think all that stuff goes hand in hand. All right, so basically, I think the premise of this article is the carriers don't really have a unique use case for 5G. What they have is a bunch of new capacity, and they are trying to monetize that capacity however they can, which I've had this discussion with everybody here on the panel. On a personal level, in conversations on the phone and calls, as well as on the show, right? The fixed wireless access piece is a bright spot for a company like Verizon. It's shown to be a bright spot for T-Mobile, and now AT&T is kind of getting into the fold too, although I think they're doing it for a different reason. At least they are getting some return as they build, right? I'm not saying that the return is coming instantly, but I think what it's going to take is it's going to take some new use cases, IoT, private networking to really accelerate that. So, and I like to call this 1 billion at a time, right? New use case, generate $1 billion in revenue from that industry in year one, right? And I know that's like wishful thinking, and it's hard to look into the crystal ball of the future. But honestly, I feel like, when you look at what's going on right now, you look at 400,000 fixed wireless access subscribers in Q1. Verizon's on track. If they were to hold this through the rest of the year at this rate, we're looking at over 1.5 million net adds for the year, which I think, basically had that same amount last year, right? Basically, they were like right there. I think it was 1.2 million or something. They can sustain this, I think, for another couple of years, right? I think they can do this through 2025. So while, they refer to it as a distinct 5G use case, what they're doing is monetizing a very heavy network investment, right? We're talking about 40 plus billion in spectrum assets, probably closer to 50 billion, right? Early clearance from satellite operators, and then the deployment and the dedicated capex for building the network. So we're not just talking about the spectrum assets, right? It's everything in totality. The mech is slow to adopt. It's really not there yet. It's going to take time to scale. It's going to take time to create demand. And as of right now, all we can really say is fixed wireless access is somewhat of a growth engine, right? Because it has a lot of potential customers that could go to Verizon and for T-Mobile as well. Customers that have Venom for cable, customers that have DSL, customers that are not satisfied with their options or lack of options. These carriers can come in and monetize. The one thing I will say, though, him calling it the killer application, I wouldn't call it the killer application. It is the application today, right? I don't look at 5G as a necessity for phones. I look at it as a way that they got capacity within certain markets that needed it because the usage was so high on the network and the market share is so high for some people or for some companies. Like, take Verizon, for example, in Cleveland, where they have 49% market share, right?
Pittsburgh's 41%.
It's very high market share. So like T-Mobile getting the Sprint acquisition, right, in markets like LA and markets like Dallas for AT&T, and like they had to have more spectrum, and putting it into 5G made sense because the bandwidth can increase. Obviously, the dedication to the fiber circuits, right, going 10 gig fiber across the country, trying to scale that as much as possible where it's available, and finding those solutions. This is really what it is today, right? We can't really comment and speculate on what it will be. We know about mixed reality and AR and VR. We know about all those things existing. It's not scaling. It's going to take like Apple to tell people this is what you need. It's going to take companies who are going to provide new experiences. This is what you need. And then Verizon becomes the network provider, right? T-Mobile and AT&T become the network providers for those operations. And for now, I guess my only objection to his statement, it's not the killer application. It's today's application is what we should say. What do you think, Dennis? I kind of did my monologue. I'll let you kind of get in.
Yeah, so me and B actually have lots of one-on-one phone calls discussing stuff like this. First, in regards to fixed wireless being the killer application, I agree with your sentiment. I don't think this is the killer application. It's just the use case that generates more revenue today. In regards to like networking and Verizon's plans in the future to gain revenue, I think that will come with time, but we're not going to see that happen for probably like another 4 years out. I would say. And the reason why I'm giving that specific timeline is because these new applications can't exist until the network foundation is there. And they also can't exist while Verizon still has legacy plan restrictions that might prevent some of these use cases from happening in the consumer or business or enterprise space. There's going to be certain features and things that need to be there outside of just adding capacity, which is what Verizon's currently doing, to enable some of these what-if topics that we've talked about, whether it be the need for network slicing, whether it be the need for consistent lower latency, or more complex data management tools that still need to be implemented on the Verizon network to enable applications of the future. That being said, I do think there is the opportunity for Verizon to potentially reduce their cost of operation in certain markets thanks to the efficiency gains of 5G and the additional spectrum that they have on air. And what I mean by that specifically is when Verizon was spectrum strained, they might have needed to put up, let's just say 4 macros to cover a given population, right? But now that they have the additional spectrum and 5G, maybe they can relocate the cellular equipment, maybe reduce it down to 2 towers, which I know reduces density, but might still end up being like a net positive from like a capacity standpoint, solving Verizon's needs. And they can take that extra money that they bring in now from not having to pay maybe super overpriced leases to add some small cells and some mmWave to some targeted enterprises or businesses in the market to allow them to purchase specific lines of service or something like that. So I think there's some opportunities there for them to reduce costs in certain ways, generate additional revenue using existing applications outside the fixed wireless. I just think it'll take time for that to materialize.
Good stuff, Dennis B. Let me get you in.
Well, you and Dennis are stealing my thunder tonight.
Oh, no.
Couldn't say anything any better, man. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to add to that. You guys did a great job. I mean, at the end of the day, inserting the word killer probably was a little bit of an exaggeration. He may have been trying to be, facetious. I don't know. But just like you said, it's really the only use case that's been effectively scaled since 5G has really been implemented so far. So that's where we're at. As a country, there's not really, a whole lot else that's really popped off just yet. But I think that's going to start to change as we get later into this year and then definitely into next. When you start to see, I'm sure particularly Verizon. I know Kyle Malady, who's the new head of Verizon Business Group. He was speaking about how he expects, those use cases to really start to take steam as far as the business side of the company is concerned. And I believe him. You got a lot of major deals with people like the NFL that Verizon has signed and everything. If the NFL can find use for private networking and for, that CBRS application, all that kind of stuff, if they can find use for that stuff, it doesn't take long for the word of that to spread, and you start to see other companies begin to, try to find ways to better implement that in their business practices as well. So hopefully we start to see more come from that, and we start to see some more innovation, because if not, then, 5G will probably be a little bit of a downer. So, I mean, that's where we are right now.
Well, let's be clear real quick, though, just so we're all on the same page. Regardless of whether or not some new quote-unquote killer application comes out, the investment into 5G was still going to be a requirement, right? Like, even if we just stood at the status quo, the fact that Verizon has the extra capacity means that they can get more subscribers in a given market than they otherwise would have been able to support with legacy LTE technologies and the spectrum that they had available at the time. So, like, this was like a sunk cost of operation that all the carriers were going to have to do if they wanted to stay competitive. And even if nothing changes, right? Like, even if there's no killer application, once the build out does end, right? Like, we finally let the dust settle, Verizon will still see, even if it's a nominal improvement to profitability, we'll still see a nominal amount of increase just from that alone. So it's not like Verizon's losing on this. It just might not make, like, investors as happy as they want to be.
you know, so that's kind of where me and Dennis kind of differ a little bit. I understand what Dennis is saying. It's not like I'm saying he's 100% wrong or anything like that. It's just for me, um, a nominal improvement in profitability is a lose for the entire industry. But particularly if you're talking about a company like Verizon that spends so much money on the spectrum, you've got to think that they want to do just a more than just a nominal improvement in their revenue. That's kind of the same thing that happened with LTE. There wasn't this huge push, and that's been widely reported by a lot of different industry analysts. When you talk about what it took to roll out LTE, the money just wasn't there for the telcos, and that's kind of hopefully that's not what happens with 5G. But I know that was kind of in the back of it seemed like the minds of people running these companies because you're already starting to see prices starting to creep up. T-Mobile's increased prices, Verizon's increased prices a few times, AT&T's increased prices. It's because they're trying to attack exactly what we're talking about. There just hasn't been the revenue push to thus far justify what the companies have invested. I mean, 26 billion is what T-Mobile invested in to purchase Sprint solely to try to get spectrum for 5G. You had AT&T. I think they spent 40 billion plus on their spectrum assets for 5G mid-band. So it's a lot of money that's going into these networks. And the last thing any company wants to hear is a nominal improvement in profitability. It's just there's got to be more to it than that. And so I think what you're going to start to see over the rest of this year going into next is that these companies are going to start to be trying to look for ways to increase profitability. Sneed has already touched on it before in some of his videos from yesterday and the day before, talking about some of the new things that T-Mobile is doing with respect to fees and whatnot, in order to try to just gain more revenue off of the customer base because it's harder and harder and it's more and more expensive to be able to try to go after brand new customers. People are trying to make that extra revenue, make that additional revenue off of their existing base because those are the people that they're already doing business with. So that's where the industry is right now, and hopefully things improve as more use cases come to market.
Well, one thing else that's worth mentioning though, is like if we're talking about the pie, right? Like LT, right? LT generated something like $3 trillion of economic activity for the United States. Now, it doesn't mean telecom companies stole the whole $3 trillion of the pie, right? But if the pie expands in the same way, like if 5G can do the same thing LTE did for the U.S. economy and expand the overall pie, right? Revenue still goes up, and if Verizon still gets a nominal profitability increase alongside that pie expanding, it's still better off for the telco, right? So that's more so my point. But Tech, welcome to the show.
My point is this. My point is this. The carriers' lack of innovation with respect to their business and how they make money to the consumer is why they're being punished by investors. Every single industry, every single company is rewarded or I should say and reprimanded by investors. If you can't innovate, if you can't pivot, if you can't evolve, that's on you. That's on your leadership, that's on your executives, that's on your CEO at the end of the day. Right? So every single business, every single company, every single industry is responsible for its progress, responsible for its evolution. These carriers look to entertainment and they made a huge mistake. Every single one of them. They set their own businesses back 10 years, 5 years, 15 years. Let's be honest, AT&T is in a hole. Verizon, a much smaller one with respect to entertainment, with media, that is on them. Even T-Mobile quickly had to pivot away from T-Vision. That's on them. They could have did anything else with their time, money, and resources. It's on them. Every transgression, every swing and miss is on them. And the fact that they weren't able to pivot and have something new for the consumer or different, a new model, a new element, a new feature, they did nothing. They kept everything the same and tried to keep squeezing the same lemon. over and over again. And I'm not really open to conversation or dialogue on that particular element because it's all in the past. So now it's on each respective CEO to do something different moving forward. And in my opinion, the most successful CEO in the telco industry is going to be the one who has the vision, who has the foresight, and executes with a plan that is future proof. There's a huge lack of innovation in telco, and it's been that way for about 15 years.
Do you want to know who I think the big three telco companies could actually look towards for pivoting and innovation? Unironically, Comcast.
What?
Hear me out, Sneed. Hear me out.
Go ahead, man.
So, Comcast is not a sexy company that most consumers can appreciate, but if you keep a close eye on what they've been doing, they have been doing some interesting things. First, and I think this is one of the most important ones, is that Comcast more and more is becoming somewhat of like a software company with all the different platforms that they've been developing with their X1 platform they've been leasing out to various cable and other telco industries across the globe. They've been developing networking management software for sophisticated like QoS management and bandwidth management when it comes to DOCSIS and fiber. Like honestly, if you've ever seen like pictures of like some of their corporate offices, they basically got like this like glass room that looks like a DEF CON room in the Pentagon that has like all this information about like the nodes and the traffic utilization and like the virtualized control that they have without having to send a technician out just due to like all this different software they've been developing is just honestly insane. So I think these are actually very large opportunities for revenue generation. These two aspects right there. You also have the fact that Comcast has been looking outside the U.S. market to gain additional growth, and then there's also the whole aspect of like this whole idea of like really controlling like the whole experience of the consumer with their re-centralization and focus on broadband, the mobile aspect, and integrating that back into their whole X1 family of products, right? Like they're doing like this kind of like whole home on the go wherever solution for the consumer's pain points and leveraging back to their strong suit, which is their connectivity aspect with a combination of software and intelligence.
If you say so, Dennis. Comcast, innovative. All right.
I mean, you don't have to.
You have a compelling argument. I like your points, but I just don't believe in Comcast as an innovative company.
You don't have to agree with me, which is perfectly respectable.
But your explanation is sound, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. I just had one other point to touch on too.
Go ahead.
One other reason why I think Comcast is also good is because this whole move on focusing on the backbone core infrastructure, getting away from the consumer focus, is actually what I think is going to be the most important thing for future needs. Being able to own and control the transit will enable things like the real-time cloud gaming services, if that ever comes back, right? Because gaming is huge. Just massive industry for money.
Dennis, there's only one company not investing in actual infrastructure, and that's T-Mobile. Everybody else invests in infrastructure.
Right, but we got to look at where they're investing, right? Like what I mean is like if you look at some of the projects that Comcast took, like here in Pennsylvania, for example, Comcast actually took a major project for PennDOT, which is like who manages our roads, to lay down fiber across like a bunch of the major interstates in our state to hook up like telephone pole lights and stuff like that for like they're going to start installing like I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to share this, but F it. They're going to be installing like these like speed cams, right? So like instead of having to have a cop doing like speeding and stuff at your light, if you speed through like a red light, that system will automatically capture your license plate and automatically send it to like PennDOT system to send a ticket to your place.
Look, man. But before you get too deep into this, like take for example Verizon. They landed the USPS deal. They landed the FAA deal. They're running MCI all over the country. They're going deeper into the markets they exist, and they're going into new places. That's just Verizon. AT&T does the same, and those are the top two in fiber operations in the country. So they're not doing anything unique, dog.
And I'd like to mention too, VCB does all of those aforementioned things when it comes to software management and traffic management, and they've been doing it for a very long time.
It's not, yeah, so it's not innovative as in like they're new. This is a new thing that they're now doing it. That's new to them. It's like when Apple puts a new feature in the iPhone, but it was in Android for 3 years. Like, welcome to the party.
Yeah, but when Apple does it, it's fleshed out and everyone moves along with the.
But that's not that my point stands. Like they never did it before, so now they do it. So it's innovative? No.
So that leads me to my point. With LTE, this great amount of capacity came to market, and the only industries that made money were everyone else except for the telecom space. So to Dennis's point about $3 trillion in economic activity, how much of that $3 trillion went to the telcos? Not nearly as much as the investment suggested should have. So now we've doubled down as an industry. What we're seeing now is we're seeing a doubling down of investment into 5G, billions of dollars, way more than what was invested in the LTE. And so I certainly understand why, for example, the T-Mobile is raising prices, why Verizon, why an AT&T. It makes perfect sense to me why they would, because the industry had been going in the wrong direction. We're seeing people talking about how these companies need to lower prices, but yet they're giving gigabit speeds. It doesn't make sense. It's not sustainable, nor is it anything any of the carriers are willing to do right now. So
executives are culpable. They deserve to take pay cuts for these transgressions.
Well, I hear you, Sneed. I get it. But at the same time, the innovation, to back to the original point, the innovation lies with the business portion of the market, not necessarily with the consumer.
Agreed.
The consumer, what are you going to, how can you sell the consumer? What are they going to do?
That's who they're squeezing, though. That's who they're squeezing.
I don't think so. I mean, the consumer is paying less than they did for LTE right now. Like, you can go to Visible and get this and pay $45. They're paying less now than they ever had.
But you're going straight to a plan. I'm just looking at the totality. They're squeezing customers for nickels and dimes, and they're trying to make it add up. But that's not going to be the savior, nor is it going to be a solution. I wouldn't even call it a Band-Aid. Right?
I agree. It's not going to be the savior. That's true.
Right. It's going to take more than that. It's actually going to take a revolution within their business model.
Well, I think it's just going to take businesses making something with this capacity. So I mean, you've got, all of the carriers, but particularly Verizon has been the one that's been the most vocal, in my opinion, about their innovation and incubation labs. I think Comcast has a lot of the same things, to Dennis's point, where they're just giving access to a lot of developers to be able to build something with all of the capacity. That's what it's going to take. And what I've been seeing is that there have been a lot of partnerships that have been, developed in order to be able to kind of try to get something out of what's going, what's going to be going through the pipe. So I know Verizon's got the agreement that they put, for example, with Meta when they try to do, the whole metaverse type of thing. It hasn't popped off yet. We'll see if it does. Who knows? But I know they got the AR and VR stuff that's going. I know. I think Meta just launched their product yesterday.
Apple's going to do something right.
Yeah, exactly. See, Apple's going to be doing something real.
Yeah, they're going to be steps in the right direction. I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, the name of the game now is to create and generate partnerships with the people who are now going to be creating the use cases, and to give them access and allow them to experiment and play on your network until they find something that's going to inspire either purchases from consumers and or private networks, MEC, all these types of things. The biggest thing is you've got to sell it. You've got to put it out there in front of people, and not necessarily consumers, not saying necessarily commercials, but you've got to put it in the business atmosphere, and you've got to talk about it, and you've got to not stop talking about it.
Hey, B,
so go ahead.
You know which industry doesn't lack innovation and actually doesn't even need it?
What industry?
The coffee industry, dog. If you guys want to help out your creators and you want to support us, the link in the description for the real SMT Buy Me a Coffee link. You guys want to keep the SMT caffeinated and motivated, use it.
Talk about innovation.
You know what guess what I'm drinking right now, EM?
Coffee.
EM, you there, buddy?
Yeah, must have disconnected Or...
Okay, let's try this again. EM, you there?
I'm back. What you got, bro?
Guess what I'm drinking right now, dog?
Got a big old cup of Joe.
No, actually, I'm drinking tea, but guess what's in it?
Caffeine.
Good guess. But actually, I got mint in my tea. Speaking of Mint Mobile, our partner, right now, guys, I'm not even joking. The link in the description is our unique partner link. I want to show you guys something. You guys see the pricing for their plans? Right? The 5 gig, the 15 gig, the 20 gig, and the unlimited plan, how it goes 15, 20, 25, and 30. Right now, if you use our partner link, no lie, no joke, check out what they're doing. They're making every single plan $15 a month.
For life, or
I think they're running the promotion. I don't know if it's like for the next month or two. I'm waiting on some of those details, but they told me to let my viewers know that right now, using our partner link, unique in the description, it's ours. Every single plan is $15 per month. So the 4 gig plan, the 10 gig plan, the 15, the unlimited, $15 a month. So what I would recommend is if you've been looking for a really good deal on your wireless service and you're looking for something new and different and you want good customer care, you can get all of that with Mint Mobile. Use our partner link, $15 a month on their unlimited plan. That's what I would recommend, is to try it. And I think you guys will really like what they do. They've got eSIM activation. They'll send you a physical SIM. They've got these great plans, and they got really good customer care. The whole porting or switching situation is really seamless. And it is, again, unique to our partner link. You can't get this anywhere. It is unique to us. So we've leveraged this. That's why I stand with my partner, Mint Mobile. It's just because of things like this. You guys think, I was playing games. I was very strategic about who I was going to partner with to bring value to the community. So that's what we did.
Well, Sneed, great transitions.
What'd you think of that whole industry thing, man? You like the way I did that?
I have to start calling you Linus after all this with your segues to our sponsor, or your sponsor, I should say.
Yeah. Did you like that, dog? You like that little mint? Yeah.
Bro, that's some LTT level transitions right there.
Yeah, but going back, and now that the ad break is adjourned, going back to what B was talking about real quick, and what we were talking about before, there's something else I wanted to say. Aside from companies, and I feel a little bad saying this, but I think one other area where telecom can look to for what maybe some of the use cases might be for the future actually might be China. And places like the and places like the Emirates. And the reason why I'm bringing up these particular two is because, like, here in the States, right, we're a little bit old school when it comes to adopting technologies, right? Like, it took us like another decade or two just to adopt using the chip and tap to pay, right? It took us a while to get into that, right? QR codes for menus didn't really come about till the pandemic happened. But if you look at places like China, everything's on a QR code. Everything's paid for through an app called WeChat, which you can, for anyone that's not familiar with this application, it's very much akin to like Facebook and Messenger, essentially combined into one baby is WeChat. And so I think it might not be a stretch to say in the future, as time progresses, that maybe the consumer becomes more digital, like the world becomes more digital when people are going through their day-to-day tasks than ever since before. So, like, it might be the simple stuff of QR codes for paying stuff, or maybe when you're making a purchase, right, getting into that AR aspect a little bit. Maybe when you're at the store, like a Best Buy, right, maybe you want to see how something's going to look in your house. Maybe it's scanning a QR code of the product and placing in your house so you can actually get a better idea of how that new TV is going to fit, or if it's too large or too small, or some other additional services like that that might require some of that additional data connectivity and actually have a meaningful impact to consumers when they're buying products and stuff like that, generating revenue in a new way of interacting with the consumer for advertising or purchasing.
I don't know, man. I don't see an everything app become a thing here like it is in China. Like, Elon's tried to do it, or he's talked about it with Twitter, and I just don't see the American public ever being inclined to do something like that. It's a different world here.
I mean, is it really that far though? I mean, in a way, right? In a way, in an indirect way, we kind of already have a de facto everything app for messaging, which is iMessage, because Apple enforces it, right? Apple mandates that if you have an iPhone, you're using iMessage, right? Is it really that far of a stretch that, maybe one day we get to the point where someone can usurp iMessage in the not so distant future, and that becomes the de facto messaging platform that spring off into other things, like the de facto payment method maybe being like a PayPal, and maybe the de facto whatever insert software company does like the other stuff? Is it really that hard? Especially too whenever we have the US government talking about digital currencies being a thing with the digital US dollar.
Oh man, I hope so though. I'm really getting sick of the bars that Apple puts up. Like, I'm just waiting for the EU to regulate iMessage in some fashion, because man, the limitations that iMessage puts on my day-to-day is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, it's the reason why I have an iPhone in my pocket, but
same.
But I could tell we beat that topic like a dead horse. So let's go ahead and move on to the new one, Sneed.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Last two things here, and this one is, I don't know, it actually shook up the market, and it shook up the market for all the wrong reasons. I'm going to bring some sensible and rational perspective to this. U.S. telecom companies say not in talks with Amazon for wireless services. Okay, so the news broke out this morning that Amazon was looking to include wireless service and integrate it into Amazon Prime membership and subscriptions. And the way it sounded and the way that it potentially would be structured is that built into the fabric of Amazon Prime would be a way for customers to get heavily discounted and subsidized wireless service from big telcos through Amazon, whether it would be heavily discounted or subsidized or even free. This completely wrecked everything in telco in the stock market. Like, I think at one point, one of the telcos was down 9 or 10%. May have been T-Mobile, I think. The others were down too in response to it. Only one company was up, and they were up big, like up 15%. And do you know who that was?
Was it Dish?
It was Dish.
Ding, ding, ding.
So I just want to say, while this story is incredibly wave making, it is completely and utterly shameless on behalf of Dish. I think Dish made this story. I think they created the story. Every single carrier except for Dish basically came out publicly and said, this isn't happening. The talks have not been had, and we have not explored this with Amazon, or that's not on the table. Like, they all in some way, shape, or form declared that in a response. The only company that wasn't asked about this or responded was Dish. And they're the only beneficiary of that story breaking. I think this is insiders. I think this is the effery that has become Dish, right? Stock manipulation, insider trading. Because this doesn't make sense. Why would telcos want to open up Pandora's box and allow Amazon, who single-handedly has become the biggest retailer, one of the biggest in the world? I mean, who's worth more? Right? You could say that like Alibaba and some of those Chinese companies have a larger addressable market, but like, who's bigger than Amazon from a valuation and enterprise value standpoint? Right? So if they start being able to aggregate and distribute, cellular service, I mean, that is just crazy, right? That is huge. That has rippling effects throughout the market. And I'm not buying it. There is no way carriers are signing up to have their profit margins decimated, because that's what Amazon would do. Amazon would basically be taking loss in order to get those customers on their platform by saying, we'll give you free service or heavily subsidized service. Literally everything about telco is about margins and profits. Why would they sign up to lose more margins? It doesn't make sense.
Get a free Amazon cellular line when you have Amazon Prime.
This is 100% connected to Dish, in my opinion.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, I haven't read this article, so I don't know all the deets, but I think your theory about the insider trading is probably true. I guarantee someone took advantage of this opportunity to do some shorts or sell off some shares prior to them buy the dip. But
15, 16, 17%, Dennis.
yeah.
After, Dish, the stock, I mean, it might be down 80% in the last year.
But I to be honest, if Amazon was interested in wireless, I highly doubt they'd be in talks with Dish. They would be acquiring Dish if they were really serious about getting into wireless. Like, there's no point for them to work with them. They would just buy them or buy a majority stake, kind of like how Deutsche Telekom did with T-Mobile US or SoftBank did with Sprint.
Yeah, this is wild. I picked up on the story. It was shared with me. Big shout out to Alexis who sent over the article, and I was just like, what the hell? Like, we knew about the whole Dish thing. I mean, that was discussed last week, right? So we caught wind of that. But like, this was next level. It got the whole industry in a frenzy. Dude, the S&P was up like 2% today. Every single stock across basically 98% of the market was up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. The only companies that were down on this huge day were telco because of this. It literally hurt the valuation of these companies, the enterprise values. That's how crazy this was. And I get it. When there's smoke, there's fire. But literally fire mobile, and I think it's Dish. And I don't put it past Dish to do something like this, honestly. But I feel bad for the people at the other telcos who are legitimately trying to operate a business, and they got this type of nonsense going on, which is completely irrational responses to something that's can't even be like substantiated. Nobody from AT&T confirmed anything. Nobody from T-Mobile. You mean to tell me T-Mobile wouldn't put it on blast that they had a partnership with Amazon? Oh my God, you wouldn't hear about it until the end of time. I mean, they did a whole thing with Starlink. Remember with Elon?
Yeah.
And that shit is going nowhere fast. Nowhere. They don't even have testing done.
I think I watched the live stream with Stetson. That's how long ago that was. Yeah.
And they don't even have a proposal that's legitimate to the FCC. They don't even have data and testing to show that it'll work and it won't cause interference. So here we are months after that, and it's gotten nowhere. I mean, and T-Mobile put that on blast. Why wouldn't they put something like this on blast? Like, hey, we got this potential new partnership, Amazon, God, man, you'd see that everywhere. It'd be on their website. It'd be on their Twitter. It'd be everywhere. Every executive would be tagging somebody. Unreal, man. But I'll tell you what, though. This is not financial advice, but I'm just letting you guys know. It's shit like this that create buying opportunities. Every telco stock went down for no reason. So if you are a telco investor, the stocks went down for no reason. There was not a single fundamental reason for it to go down. Even Amazon came out and said, there's nothing there at this time.
I was just going to say that this is not financial advice, but buy the dip.
Straight up. There's no, like, for a company to go down 5 or 10% due to this nothing burger, you'd be buying if it was the case.
So changing gears a little bit, if Amazon did buy into some type of reselling deal with a network provider, who do you think would be the most likely option?
I mean, outside of Dish?
Yeah.
Well, Verizon's got a partnership with Kuiper, whatever. And they've got a relationship with AWS, and I mean, there's something there.
I agree.
I think it'd be Verizon. Okay.
I mean, just because of those things, you look for connections. AT&T's more with Microsoft, with Azure, whatever. I don't know. I like I said, man, you tell me what carrier is signing up to have their profitability and margins decimated.
Which is probably the reason why no carrier wants to make a deal with Amazon.
Yeah, they're going to avoid that like the plague.
That's a huge knock to your business and your business model.
I think I may have missed a super chat. Big shout out to S Blue Tech. Thank you. He said, if it weren't for iMessage and FaceTime, my primary line would be on my Pixel 7 Pro. A lot of people would probably say that.
I
and another
fully
one from
concur. wholly concur with that statement.
And another one from Les Tech. What up, nation? Just joined. Did you all see on the Amazon story tank the carrier stock? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and it's really hard to like, quote unquote, prove it. But come on, man. This shit doesn't even make any sense. It's Friday. It's a short trading week.
Well, let's just look at Nancy Pelosi's stock purchases and transactions.
Oh god.
she and the rest of Congress seem like they're really, really good at predicting. I mean, some of the best investors out being the market and Warren Buffett. They're the investors we should follow. Let's look at Congress.
Yo, David, I swear, when you told me that Kramer gave it blessings, I canceled my orders, dude. I can't roll with whatever that guy says. I gotta go the other way. If he says up, I'm going down. If he says left, we gotta go right. No way, no how. That dude is literally poison.
Joking. All jokes aside, though, new topic? Question mark?
Yeah, we got a new topic, homie. Man, T-Mobile customers. Look, guys, I said this a long time ago. I'm talking like 2019. When me and the Bearded Dragon would discuss these topics on the podcast, I said it then. So we're like 4 years ago. The T-Mobile Sprint merger, if and when that happened, you were going to get a much improved network opportunity, but with that came a lot of concessions, including them becoming more carrier. And by the way, I'm going to probably create an initiative on Twitter. Every time Mike Sievert or somebody at T-Mobile tweets out something about Uncarrier, we're just going to tag them and link this article. That's all we're going to do, right? What T-Mobile is doing is, if you're a T-Mobile customer and you want to come in and pay your bill, they are going to charge you a fee to pay your bill. So it's not enough that you are paying your bill on time. That's not good enough. They need to charge you and allow you to pay your bill. Plus tax. So you've got a fee plus taxes. So it's ironic. A company known for tax and fees included, now adding taxes and fees not included.
$90.
And it's going to be $95.70 now.
Can I make a very hot, spicy take on this?
Okay.
As much as I think it's BS that they're doing this, I don't actually think it's that big of a deal because most companies were already doing this well before T-Mobile decided to add this fee.
Oh my God, Dennis, why?
And let me explain. As long as T-Mobile has self-paying kiosks like what Comcast does in their Xfinity stores, like what Verizon does in their retail stores, and basically most companies do, where you just go in, you put your cash into the machine, and you just pay it that way. Then if they want to have a fee if a person literally does it instead of you doing it yourself, I don't see it being that big of a deal, because there's other ways to pay your bill that don't have to be wasting some sales reps' time to do it.
Missing the point, Dennis. You're missing the point.
I know. I know what the point is.
You're describing what carriers do. This is the company that says they're uncarrier. They're doing what carriers do. They're violating what they're saying. They're selling wolf tickets. They keep telling us uncarrier this and uncarrier that.
I'm just throwing it out there just to play devil's advocate. I think it's BS the fee exists, but on the same token, like, I'm just saying that, like, of all the things that are being done, like, I'm more pissed off about the auto pay change than I would be about this, because realistically speaking, who here on YouTube doesn't just throw their credit card on their account and just pay it that way online?
I agree with you, Dennis, wholeheartedly. Actually, I'm sorry, Sneed.
Big shout out to Lee County Scratcher. Appreciate the super chat. He's got multiple interviews to work and sell AT&T Prime Communications and Access. Good luck with that, man. I hope it works out for you, bud. Yeah, I don't care. There's no spin to this that I like. I don't give a damn. Obviously we're a consumer-friendly channel at the heart of everything. We try to understand the business aspect. The proper response for customers, obviously, is to pay your bill in another way, right? If you don't want to get hit with the $5 plus fee. I need them to stop with the uncarrier moniker. Once that stops, you're golden, right? You can be genuinely who you are and who you want to be. When you are disingenuous and you're selling wolf tickets, you're violating your business integrity. And that's the one thing I hate about corporations. They're given the license to lie and deceive and cheat and steal in the name of business. Oh, it's okay. It's business. No, it's not. It's not okay. And that's literally what this is. It's deceptive, right? They tell you we're on carrier, but they're going to add a carrier type fee, you know? And it's not me not being understanding of a business. What you mean? I run a business. We have a family business. We've pushed additional costs onto customers when we've had to. That's not the issue here. I honestly think that what T-Mobile is trying to do is I think they're trying to spark the migration of the remnants of the old-fashioned payment by some customers to just get away from this and move to app payment, getting away and stop bothering people in the store. The store should be targeted for sales, right? So like adding lines, porting from another carrier, they'll entertain that without fee. But like if you're just going to be getting in the way and holding things up, they're trying to deter you and force you away from that behavior.
Yeah, I mean, stores for the carriers tend to all be sales related for all intents and purposes, although I do think if they wanted to be on carrier and do something truly worthwhile, I think stores should be more turned into like the Apple Store experience, where you have like a group of quote unquote geniuses or experts or whatever T-Mobile wants to call them, that actually can troubleshoot and do like on-site repair. Like I think it would be pretty uncarrier and pretty cool if they were able to partner up with someone like say, what's it called? I break it, I fix it, to maybe have like a co-location of that kind of support inside their stores. That'd be pretty uncarrier. That'd be pretty cool.
You know who does that already? AT&T.
Verizon offers that as well. So I mean,
Verizon doesn't do in-store repairs.
They do not. They do not.
They do. You guys are welcome to fact check me if you like.
I am fact checking you.
I am fact checking you.
Yeah.
Be my guest. They do offer in-store repair of screens and whatnot. Now it's not every location in the country. It is select locations, but they do offer it. So you have to have like their insurance or whatever. You have to be, enrolled in their insurance or whatnot.
I've been to a few different states, and I can tell you right now, out of about the 90 Verizon stores that I've been to, not one does in-store repairs.
It might be different for you because you live in the state of New York that has weird, goofy phone insurance laws, but I can tell you for a fact, and this is coming from someone who used to work in a store, they don't do that.
They outsource to like Assurion or Assurance. I forget which company it is.
Assurion.
Go to Verizon's website, and they will talk to you about the in-store repair that they do for like screens and whatnot. Now, again, I acknowledge it's not at every single location.
How long ago did you last see this, B?
This was just a few weeks ago.
Okay.
In fact, I'll try to put it in the chat. I'll try to see if I can find the app. Put it in the chat.
But the thing is that New York has had goofy laws when it comes to cell phone insurance for a very long time, just insurance in general. And I mean, anytime you look at the terms and conditions for Apple Care or any carrier insurance, there's always, if you live in the state of New York, it's like a disclaimer. So I don't think that translates to the vast majority of people, to be honest. But I can tell you right now that all the AT&T corporate stores, at least all the ones that I've been to, have Assurion techs that work in the stores, and I know 2 of them personally. So that's not a new concept. AT&T's been doing it for a long time.
Well, I would love to see T-Mobile make it new to them. I'm saying that would be a good use of their store space, in my opinion. And
I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, that realistically, that's what these companies are going to have to come down to, is more of an experiential selling concept, like Apple, like Best Buy. Because quite frankly, if you can get the same experience at Apple or another retailer, why bother going to the carrier store? You know what I mean?
Verizon Mobile Protect gives you unlimited number of claims, no extra cost, crack screen repair.
Yeah, claims, but they're not repairing it in store. They're gonna you file the claim, you're gonna ship off the phone.
That's true, but it says it on Verizon's website. You can get it done same day replacement.
But they're not doing the repair at the store, dog.
Yeah, that's different from what we're talking about. Like I'm saying that, like Apple, right? Let's just say I want to go get a screen repaired at an Apple store or a battery replacement, right? Literally at that store, I drop off the phone. They do the work. I come back a few hours later and I get my same phone back. They're not shipping it off anywhere. Like Verizon, you're shipping
There
the
was
phone
a time
off
where I think Verizon did do screen repairs at the store, but it's been a while.
Select smartphones that only have a cracked front screen are eligible for cracked screen repair. Repairs are performed by an Asurion certified technician and come with a 12-month limited warranty. Eligibility for cracked screen repair will be determined at time of claim approval, yada, yada, yada. It's right there. I mean,
yeah, where does it say that they do it at the store, dog?
So if they're repairing your screen and like, let me see if I can find the correct verbiage. Let me see if I can find it.
You're not going to find it.
You want me to tell you how it works? Because I used to do it. Customer comes in with the total mobile protection. You say you fill out the questionnaire on the tablet, and then it says, okay, where do you want to schedule their appointment? And then it'll send you to like a U-Break iFix or whatever your authorized repair partner is. The customer might be able to go there same day, but it's not the same location. It's somewhere else.
What does it matter? What's the semantics, guys?
No, man. Well, that's you.
But that's part of the experience. It's the customer experience. Okay, You're telling me that I gotta go into a Verizon store.
You guys are acting like you gotta ship it off. You gotta go to a store. They fix the phone. Okay.
Okay, so you gotta go in. You gotta talk to a rep. You gotta file a claim, and then I gotta drive my ass halfway across town to get it fixed. God. Come on, dog.
That's way better than the experience was before.
It's not way better. The nearest iBreak and iFixit is in freaking Boardman, Ohio for me. That's now that I live here, that's a 55-minute drive.
But I already acknowledged it didn't happen at every single store. We've already discussed that. I already said it's not at every location. I said that already.
What you're saying is different from what I brought up.
Yeah. We're going off of what Dennis was talking about, and what I'm saying is that what you're trying to equate to what Dennis is saying is wrong, and the process is completely different. Like,
all right, guys.
I'm sorry, bro. This
isn't worth an argument or anything. I'm just saying that this is an offering that wasn't previously available. Customers would have to wait for a device to be shipped. They would ship the phone that's damaged back and have to go through the process of trying to get all their stuff onto.
Oh no, they used to give you a phone at the store. What you talking about?
Well, I mean, yeah, they used to give you a phone at the store when they had like flip phones and prepaid and all that kind of stuff. That kind of stopped with the smartphones. But what I'm saying is now customers do have an option at Verizon, and also I believe at AT&T is what EMTech was saying. You have an option of getting a device replaced same day in some locations in the country. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying if you guys want to say I was wrong about going to a Verizon store, okay, I was wrong about going to a
just
Verizon.
Like the actual on-site repair, right? You would have to go somewhere else in all likelihood.
I mean, but one of you guys were talking about iRepair or iBreak Fix or whatever the case may be. So if they're a authorized repairer of phones, it's essentially the same sort of setup. In my opinion, we're arguing semantics.
It's not semantics, because what I was asking for from T-Mobile, just to reiterate it, so we're on the same page. What I was saying would be cool from T-Mobile is if in T-Mobile, like in the store, there would be like in the same way Best Buy has your normal floor plan, and then there's the Geek Squad section. T-Mobile would have their normal side of business, and then there would literally be like a little iBreak and iKiosk employee there, or someone trained from T-Mobile, one of the two, that you go to. You drop off your phone, bada bing, bada boom,
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. They're going to do the screen repair either right in front of you, or they'll give you like a freaking little card or a text message or an email or something that says like, okay, this shit will be good to go in like T-minus 3 hours. Come back and we'll have it taken care of for you. Because that's how the Apple Store does it, right? Like the Genius Squad, right? With Apple, you schedule your appointment online, go to the Apple Store, you drop it off, you pay your thing, they do the battery replacement, and then you come back maybe after an hour or two, and you got your phone in your hand, and you're off to the races to go do whatever after you had a nice little brisk little lunch. Right now, in the case of the situation that you described, with specific to Verizon and what EMTech is bringing up, is in order to make your claim, you have to go to the Verizon store first to file your claim. Then Verizon will tell you to go to insert iBreak, iFixit location, which can be insert distance away, depending on how far away you are from these iFixit locations. to go drop it off. Then you're waiting a couple hours at this iFixit location. Potentially, if you're lucky, if it's same day. Otherwise, it might actually be multiple days out. Because remember, iFixit isn't exclusively doing work with Verizon. They're doing work with literally everyone. It's not like it's specific to like a Verizon customer. So you're waiting for availability, and then you finally get your phone back. Honestly, in that scenario, what's better for the consumer might actually be shipping it back to the Shurion claim, because a lot of times if they can't fix the phone, they'll put a deposit down on your thing to give you a replacement phone to use in the meantime before you get yours back. A lot of times, depending on the damage. So,
well, I mean, it depends on where you are, because again, if you're in a location or a different part of the country, or a certain part of the country that actually offers or has one of those stores nearby, then that person can go and get whatever service is that you need for that phone.
Yeah, but that's
the problem. That's the problem. It needs to be a nationwide initiative that covers all of your customers.
And more importantly,
Apple.
More importantly, like this analogy, like it depends on where you are. I mean, by this logic, everyone has a Samsung store that they can go to get their Samsung phones replaced in the U.S., even though there's only one Samsung store in the entire United States. Like, I'm just like, look, I appreciate what you're saying, that Verizon does have something in place to help customers, is your point that you're making. My point is that it's totally different from what I'm asking for T-Mobile to do, to be quote-unquote Un-carrier, and even Verizon's implementation falls way short from a consumer experience standpoint from what I would like to see.
Thank you, Michael Peppertech. I appreciate it. It's right
agree,
there.
Dennis.
Because I know what I'm saying, but it's cool. It's all right. It's all right. Mike said it, so I'm gonna back off. But I know it is something that's offered. I know it's not in every store. I know it's not perfect. I understand it's not perfect. I'm just saying it is offered. So that's all.
I understand where you're coming from, Brian, but like from a customer experience standpoint, it needs to be a nationwide initiative that applies to all of your customers. Because if I can have a good experience in Washington, D.C., but I have a dog shit experience in California, like, I'm going to be a little ticked off as that customer in California that has to go through all these hoops to get my stuff replaced.
Or let's clarify, at the very minimum, it should be all corporate stores. All Verizon corporate stores should at least support the initiative. I get network partner store or third-party stores might not have the same experience, but at a minimum, it should be all corporate stores, which isn't the case for Verizon.
Or T-Mobile, for that matter. So we can't just call T-Mobile out here. Like,
yeah.
And honestly, if you want my honest opinion, and I'll go on record saying this, don't get your insurance from the carrier.
Agreed.
Get it from the manufacturer. Get AppleCare, Samsung, or Google.
Or your home insurance provider. I'm not even joking.
There's one exception to this rule.
Exactly.
There is one exception to this rule. Xfinity Mobile on iPhones, if you buy their whatever they call it, Mobile Care, includes Apple Care with it, so you get the insurance coverage and Apple Care. They're the only exception because it's the same price as just buying Apple Care alone. They're the only exception.
All right, let me do
I'll give you that one.
220 and the District of Columbia. Like, I mean,
right, let me do the super chat. S Blue Tech, appreciate you, man. I think this is number 2 or 3 from him. T-Mobile was actually an Apple Care authorized service provider when they did this. You didn't even have to have your phone on T-Mobile as long as you had Apple Care Plus. I never really had to deal with these things, man. I see what a lot of people kind of go through trying to get good coverage. I recommend getting a really good case, a really good screen protector, and keeping your phone out of harm's way. And then just put it under your home insurance, provider on that policy, and you guys should be golden. They actually have certain policies actually have smartphone, clauses and stuff like that, where the deductible is very competitive to whatever your carrier can provide, but it'll just be built into your home insurance, and I think it's just a couple of bucks extra.
I don't know, man. I hear what you guys are saying, but I mean, 34 states, 220 cities, Washington, D.C.
Yeah, okay, it's in 34 states, but it's not at the store, which is what I was talking about.
I agree with you, but I've already agreed with you guys. Like, I already told you that.
But you're nitpicking, bro.
I'm not nitpicking, man. I'm just telling you that there's something that's awful. That's all. And it's better than it was before. It's an improvement. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying we got from A to Z and we're in utopia. I'm just saying that it's improved from what was offered previously.
I'm gonna give you an analogy, okay? I'm gonna give you an analogy of how I'm seeing it personally. I'm saying that I want an iPhone, right? And you're telling me how Verizon used to do flip phones, and now they're giving away Android smartphones that you can get if you do what Verizon asks you. But I'm still not getting my iPhone. I'm getting an Android smartphone. It does most of the things an iPhone can do, but it's still not the iPhone. So it's apples and oranges, is what I'm trying to tell you. is basically
But
what I'm getting at here.
it's not, because there are people in the country who can get that iPhone. Like it's 220 different cities. Now I understand it's not all 3,000 counties in America, but it's 220 cities in 34 states and DC. That's the majority of the country that can take advantage of a repair in a Verizon store, which is exactly what you guys said that you wanted. It's exactly what you said. Like, I mean,
you're not addressing the whole SMT Nation, dog. We're trying to address the entire SMT Nation here, okay?
But I've already said, I know it's not everybody. I've already said that. I've just said that it's a vast improvement from what was previously offered.
Okay, but why are you hung up on this? We're done. We're done with this. We all agree that it's not as good as it should be. Like, let's just move on. Let's move on.
New topic,
please.
All right, this is the last one, all right? And then we got to get over to Technoid, all right? Because we're going to be doing the Technoid show tonight. All right, so this one's quick hitter, and we're not going to get too much time on it just because we got a couple of minutes. Google Fiber is expanding. The interesting thing to note here with this kind of like article or whatever is all of this happened in the month of May. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that they've done this without dedicated government dollars, right? They've basically done this on all their own accord in terms of their plan of where they're building. Okay, so the first location in May being cited here is Chubbuck, Idaho. Never heard of it. It's a town of almost 16,000 people. It's north of Pocatello. All right, so we've got that one. Leawood, Kansas, another town that I don't know anything about. Seems like a small town. And they're offering 1 and 2 gig and 5 gig services there. I think they started that in February. So now that's available at that location. Liberty, Missouri, another place. So now they're competing with AT&T Fiber, Spectrum, and T-Mobile 5G home internet in that location. Logan, Utah, which if this is where I think it is, I think this may be Utopia.
Yeah, it says
territory.
It says they're licensing in this area, which is why I find it odd they're offering an 8 gig tier as well, by the way, but continue.
Yeah, it says 1, 2, 5, and 8 gig tiers there. Franklin, Tennessee, that one's new because I think that one was in a separate news article. Town of 80,000 people located 19 miles southeast of Nashville, which is, I think Nashville is the Google Fiber hub. So this shows that when it comes to like random locations and places that could use this, it's kind of going to these smaller places. I kind of like what I'm seeing. Obviously, I think, Google going anywhere is a good thing to just offer another option to anyone, whether people are looking for their first taste of fiber or if they're looking for a second, third option. I think this is a win regardless of how you look at it or slice it. So Dennis, you're a fiber guy, you're a wireline guy. Everybody here on the panel, I think, agrees. We like to see these types of things. I think it's time we gave Google Fiber some props because they'll typically put their services in places where others really don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, Google Fiber is freaking awesome. I remember way back when they were only in like Kansas, and I remember every city was competing to have Google Fiber come. I was one of the people that signed the petition to try to get them to come to Pittsburgh because I wanted them. But I think it's awesome they're expanding. I'll give them props for expanding into small parts, especially doing it with their own money. I do have a question of what made them decide to go into expansion, considering that for, I would say, the better part of a decade, they kind of stopped the build-out projects. I'd be interested to see what changed to prompt this. And I do also just want to add additionally that I do think that some of the locations mentioned are interesting because some of them on there were already had AT&T Fiber and Spectrum. Those were what I would consider to be, in American standards, well-served markets, already having those 2 wireline options plus fixed wireless. But Yeah, I'll give them props. Anytime anyone wants to expand fiber, they'll get a round of applause from me, whether it be Frontier, whether it be Verizon, Google Fiber. I'm always happy to see it.
All right, EM, 30 seconds. Go.
I wholly concur with Dennis. Props to them for making their expansions and going to places where people don't want to go, or even to offer a competitive option to reduce pricing to the end customer. But all I gotta say is they gotta stop hitting other people's fiber while they're building. That's big no. But other than that, I'm cool.
All right, B, close us off. 30 seconds, man.
This is a nothing burger because it's not offered everywhere. It's all custom.
$90 using my safe word. End the show. Wrap it up.
Wait,
Mobile,
real quick.
wait.
We didn't say this, but do we know what Google Fiber's charging now for gig service as their entry point? Do we know what the price is?
I know it's not $90.
That's why
it
I'm
doesn't
asking.
matter because it's not available everywhere. It doesn't matter.
$90.
No, sincerely asking. Sincerely, I want to even know if they're price competitive.
60 or 70.
Okay, it's 70. Okay,
60 or 70. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, they got the best pricing of everybody.
Well, that didn't used to be the case. They used to be the most expensive out of everybody used to.
That's definitely true.
All right, excellent. You guys were amazing tonight, man. Thanks for coming and spending, some time with me here on the panel. Big shout out to Dennis, B, and EM for hanging. Also, big shout out to everybody that offered super chats tonight, everybody that liked and shared this video. Appreciate you all very much. Big shout out to the SMT Nation. Don't forget, folks, you can actually use our Mint Mobile partner link if you're looking to save some money. We've got basically the 50% off of the unlimited plan. It's now $15 a month for their unlimited plan. The way that it's structured is going to save you tons of dough. If you've been on the fence and you've been looking to try Mint Mobile, now is the perfect time to do it. So go ahead and use it. I think I put it in the chat earlier. It's mintmobile.com/sneed, SNEED. Use it, save that money. Legendary customer care. You'll be helping out the channel, and we're growing with a partner that we stand with. That value is really good, and we definitely want to push that to help you guys save some money. All right, big shout out to all the SMT Nation, specifically. Bigger shout outs to my YouTube members and Patreon supporters. We'll be looking to do a live stream this weekend, so stay tuned for notifications on that, and more video content coming up. I've been doing some recording, some filming, some editing. Videos are ready to drop this weekend. Be on the lookout for that. Make sure your notifications are on. We out this piece.
Peace.
Peace.